All right, there. Good morning, everybody. Christopher Briggs with Texas West Capital, just a few minutes after 11 a.m. Central Standard Time here on Monday, the last day of the month, the 30th of November, 2020, San Antonio, Texas. So this holiday weekend here in the U.S. Was definitely not uneventful for Bitcoin. Again, I continued to warn that we would likely see a decent pullback before we breach the all-time high, and that's what we got. If you're in Discord with us, it bounced basically where we said we'd be looking for it to bounce if it was going to go higher, which is that 16,000 area, that first cluster of demand. And so, again, no surprises on all that, kind of doing what we kind of looking for. The question is what comes next, and I think the big part of all this is the DXY. And so we'll take a look at that today as well. We've been watching that. It looks like it may have completed that ending diagonal. And if it did, I think that's got a lot of repercussions across all the different markets. And I really don't see a reason necessarily for Bitcoin to be any different. If we get a strong dollar reaction, a good dollar bounce, strong reversal coming off, which we should if it's the end of an ending diagonal, then no asset should really be safe. They should all kind of really take a hit. As it applies a downward price pressure on them. So we'll take a look at that there. But who's all here? By the way, guys, don't forget, before we get into that, join us at howtotradetowin.com. We've got we're calling it Cyber Week deals here. And all you have to do is you just go to join us, or you can scroll on down to the bottom down here, and you can get it significantly less than what you see here. So you just go on whichever one you want, you just go on there, say like that there, and then you kind of choose which one you want. And so, like, let's say, normally it's $200 a month, right? So you already get a discount annually there of like $1,000 off a year. But if you go in there, when you click in here to join, you hit the sign up now or whatever, you can click that in there. Let's kind of go in here, There we go. And so now you've got the discount on there as well. And so you can get a year for just, less than half of what we get. Again, normally for a year, if you're paying monthly, you're going to spend about $2,400. You can get it for much less. And so it's the same thing with all of them. The coupon will be applied automatically for you there, depending on whatever you want to grab. Monthly, quarterly, biannually, annually. The discounts are larger. The larger the term that you sign up for. And it's not just tier 3, it's tier 2, it's tier 1 as well. So a lot going in there. If you're already with us and you want to jump on these as well, I did mention in this morning's BMA update, but just go ahead and just purchase the whatever you want to purchase. And if there's any if the system doesn't credit you properly, or just go ahead and send me a DM and say, hey, listen, I'm on this one, I just bought this. And I'll go look, and if it's not automatically credited correctly, I'll go ahead and manually credit correctly for you, and you'll be set. So lots of great deals in there, guys. Huge discounts. Only time of year we're going to do any kind of discount like this. It will never be anywhere near this big a discount any other time during the year. So if you miss out now, you'll have to wait another year. And, of course, there's no guarantees that we'll do the same discounts the next year. But that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Cyber Week kind of thing is what we're doing here. So, like I said, they should be good through the end of the week here. So be sure you jump in there and get it there. Let me see who's here already. What's going on, Hank? Sean, LG is here. Let's see here. BR, what's up, man? Casper's checking in. Nevlusian, Optimist. Man, my favorite people all here. Look at this. Spiral Architect. Good to see you guys. Let me see here. Who else is here? Data's here. Crypto Mowgli, Telluride. He said Kraken wicked to 16,660 this AM. Yeah, but I don't think it was. I think it was just a glitch, a technical glitch. I don't see it. It doesn't seem to have affected anybody's orders in there. So I think it was just like a technical thing. I don't think it was actually like real orders going through. So we'll see. Hank says hi to mid-80s for the DXY. Sees no reason to change that yet. Well, again, we'll show you guys. We'll talk about it. Hey there, Mads. Brian, good to see you. Thanksgiving was great. Thank you. I hope yours was as well. I think you're U.S. based, right? Hey there, Kendall Shepard. Good to see you. Let me see. Baker, what's going on, man? I did. Thank you. Hopefully you did as well. Usman is here. He said could be closing the lowest monthly close since January of 2018 today. Could be. Could be. Esteban, what's up? Jordan's here. He says when 2K? Probably after 3K. You know, you hit 3K and then you hit 2K. We'll see what happens. Let's see here. Usman says, I've been saying for ages that the DXY is looking to go test the high 80s first. Yeah, definitely. Potentially. Like I said, we'll take a look and show you where my count is at the moment. But definitely a strong reaction so far this morning off it. Brian, you're in Denver, man? God, I was thinking about buying a place in Golden. Just a bit down the road from there. Still kind of thinking about it. My son wants Christmas, with the snow and everything. You don't get that San Antonio, so maybe get a place over there too. We'll see. But anyway, good to see you guys join in, man. We'd love to have you with us, though. Seriously, come join us, howtotradetowin.com. Like we said, especially if you're going tier 3, guys, over 30 hours of educational content on there, weekly educational live stream, 20 assets, daily and intraday updates. You can request charts. You can see the chart requests from other people and all that. You get hot takes, 3 times a week, unless it's on a holiday, of course. So, yeah. It ends up being, on average, over 50 setups a week. So lots of stuff going in on there. See here. Farm D, what's up? He says, if DXY continues up next month equals a bullish divergence on the monthly. I know it's pretty interesting where it's at, right? Usman says, I do expect a relief bounce now as Bitcoin needs to correct. So here's where we are. I've changed the, I've added a new parabolic line here because we had the other one, we had a lot closer here and we dropped through that. This was that initial area I had talked about. I'd mentioned it a few times the last 2 weeks on with our members on Discord, saying that if this was the top, then we should expect a bounce in this larger area and further down. But if we had further up to go, if it was just like a wave 4 pullback pulling up, then we'd probably bounce off this smaller area right here in this 16,000 area, and that's kind of what we did. And then, of course, we've moved up this morning. Now, things to pay attention to. First of all is daily. We've got a large daily divergence here. Daily divergences have continued to play out. Every one of them has continued to play out, so I wouldn't ignore it. That said, there's a lot of room here for the on Stochk RSI for price to rise higher. If we jump out here, remember, some things to point out here. We just had a TD9 at resistance. Resistance is the all-time high, okay? That was last week. So we've got this new weekly here. So we could, technically we could pop a little bit higher and then reverse and head down. Remember, a TD9 is a pause, potential reversal. It just means the conditions are more favorable to a reversal, but it does not guarantee a reversal. So the best way to think of a TD9, just like any, reversal candle structure, is to treat it as a pause until you get confirmation of reversal, okay? So we had that going on there. Of course, we're topped out here, Stochk RSI. RSI, we're really high up here. MFI has continued to drop off here. The money flow index here has continued to drop off as it's risen. But if we jump to I think here's the big story. Today's close is going to be the monthly close as well. All right? We have the all-time high over here. This is Bitstamp. We have the all-time high at 19,666. Technically, if the daily and monthly here if the monthly was to close below 19,666, that's a potential bearish SFP, bearish swing failure pattern, because there is basically a 3-year difference here, almost 3 years of time between this all-time high and where we're currently at. All right. So I think today's close is what you need to pay attention to more than anything else, especially on the monthly. The further back, if this is to close below this all-time high, the further back it closes, the more significant that potential bearish SFP becomes. Now, even a bearish SFP on there doesn't mean it has to get down to 3,000. Remember, that's always in the books still right now, but it may not happen. It's got to get through, as I continue to tell you guys about, it's got to get through those other levels first along the way. So it could just end up, being a larger bit of a pullback. toward, maybe 13,000, maybe 9,000, depending on however this wants or needs to be counted in here, if it was just bullish off this. But I think this is definitely what we need to be watching by the end of the day. So the day closes in about 6 hours and 45 minutes. Isn't it 6 hours and 45 minutes? I think so. 6 o'clock Eastern, I think. Let me look here real quick. 1700? Yeah, so another, 6 hours and 45 minutes. So that to me is the most important thing, guys. Forget counts, forget all this other stuff. I think that becomes the most important thing because right now it's a pretty nice monthly candle here. It's a pretty bullish monthly candle. It looks great right now. But, again, we had that sharp sell-off there that happened pretty quickly last week. We can continue to do that. So if this was to sharply sell off $2,000 or $3,000 by the end of the day, I'm definitely not saying it's going to, but all of a sudden you're way down here, at 3,000, you're way down here at around 16.2. And that gets you then, below everything here. Now, I don't necessarily believe that that's what's going to happen or that it isn't going to happen. What I'm saying is if it does happen, you need to be paying attention. Because to me, that would signal a much larger pullback is probably in store. What you don't want to see is the close below. I say that, on the monthly here, if you're closing pretty close to the all-time high, I don't think the bearish SFP scenario is really a huge worrisome event. But I think if you're closing, $1,000 below that on the monthly here, so 18,666 or something, I think it becomes more stronger potential bearish SFP coming off there. So we'll see what happens with this as we get it there. Right now, let me kind of turn all this off here. Let me see here. Right now, zoom into the 15-minute. There we go. So right now, like I said, I think we're doing an ABC here, potentially on a pullback here. If we look at this, if I look at this, my first thought coming off the bottom here is 1, 2, and then we look for a 3. And so this gets just above the 2618. That's a good wave 3 overextension. And so at that point, we'd look for, let's see here, 38.2 on that. It's going to get you basically right here at this high volume node, right here at this demand structure, EQ right around 18.5. Now, we don't have to, though. We could go in here, and, sometimes you get those shorter wave 4s. And we could see something like this 23.6 right here where we're bouncing right now. I could see this potentially happening as well and heading back up. If we're getting back above, this should be an A, a B, and then this would be a C. So if we're getting above this 19,564 and 63 cents here on Bitstamp, I think that kind of says this is done and we're heading up higher. Now, if that is a, a 1, 2, 3, 4 here, then I would be looking for price to target. If we do it from right where we're at there, again, we look at that 61.8. That 61.8 gets us up there around 21,111. And as you can see, that's basically the R2 pivot on the hourly. So I'd be looking for that. Now, importantly, I think we have at least the R5 pivot on the 15-minute here at about 20,315. I think we at least have that as a target because we've moved in sideways between the pivot and the R1 and continued to move up strongly through it. Usually, we hit that, at least hit that R5. We usually run the pivots all the way up before we get, on that time frame, a bigger pullback. So that's what I'm kind of looking at on that. So I think we're just doing maybe a 4 here and then a 5 up. If we do, could be wave 5 done. Could be one of a larger whatever, 5 up. So we'll have to see what goes on there. That's why I think, again, with there being so many possible counts, I think the best thing to watch right now is this pivot right here. I think if we're dropping back below this 1 hour, 4 hour pivot right here at about 17,975 or so, if we're getting below that, I think that's the first clue that we'll probably have a top in. Because again, we're moving in above it here. If we've hit the R1. If we're dropping down through that pivot, it usually indicates at least the S1, potentially the S2. And so if we hit the S1, that's the next target. If we're dropping through that pivot, that would be the next downside target right there, around 16,450. But we've already tapped this local area here on this move up, so we should come on down through that. And if we come down through that, then, obviously you're initially looking here, 15,400 or so at this high volume node. But I think you're really kind of looking down closer to this S2. And if you're hitting this S2, then you're potentially dropping through that parabola. And if that parabola is correct, then, further downside. If it's not such a big deal. So you just kind of play this in levels as it kind of gives you what it's looking for here. A lot of people are looking at, okay, we're all-time high, so we're definitely definitely shooting through, rocketing up and whatnot. But again, I think if we look here at the DXY, I think there may be something different in store there. Because again, if this is the bottom here, then we should continue this strong. We've already have a strong reaction off the bottom heading up, and we should continue that. We should expect that to continue heading up. As far as the 1 hour and 4 hour goes, we're here below the pivot. So if we get above the pivot, bouncing off the S1 area here, head up through the pivot, we should expect it to head up higher. R1, R2 at least. If we look here, let me see, 4 hours. You can see 4 hour just coming off the bottom there. We have this nice 4 hour bullish divergence here coming up that resulted in that move. Daily, we're right here now. Excuse me. Again, looking at bullish divergence as well. Stochc RSI bottomed out here, bouncing back up bullishly. Lot to be said about this going up. So now you can also watch here. You can watch the these local descending resistance right here. If you want to watch that, as far as, okay, maybe we need to go in or not, or be careful or whatever. I think if RSI is breaking above that, that's probably a pretty good indication. And that, of course, then becomes this ending diagonal here. Again, as we zoom back in here, this is what we've been talking about, which gives you, an ABC for a 1. And you have your 2. And then you have, your ABC for your 3. And then you have your 4. And you have an ABC for a 5. Now, this ending diagonal, if this is a 1, 2, and this is 3, 4 here, then wave 5 cannot go below 91.04. If it goes below 91.04, it's not an ending diagonal. So right now, I'm watching for an advance back above this descending resistance, above the pivot. If we can do that, that starts making it look more like it may be the bottom here. Beyond that, we have to then get up above this swing high here, which is 93.194. That would be the next step after you get through that. Now, again, looking at this right here, as far as targets go, let's do it like this. Potentially something like this here. So that would be the expected target, which is what you usually expect. You usually expect termination around the beginning of that wedge, that ending diagonal or that leading diagonal. When you break out of it, price returns to where it begins. So I don't even know why I grabbed from up there. Probably closer, better like this right here. But nonetheless, the expectation being that you're getting back up here into this area. So I mean, if we get this continued advance, this continued bullish, strong advance that we're getting here, it doesn't make sense, I mean, even everybody wants to be bullish on Bitcoin, and that's fine, they want to be, but I don't see a reason why Bitcoin would be expected to buck what everybody else would do. Everybody else is going to take a hit on that. And so I'm not saying it can't, but I'm just saying, when we trade, we should be trading for things that we generally, expect to happen based on what usually happens. when you start trying to trade based on one-offs, again, you're taking on a heck of a lot more risk. Now, if you're correct, obviously, you can get a better return, but the odds of you being correct are a lot more slim. I see people saying, "Oh, I'm a contrarian trader," just to be contrarian. That's not trading correctly. You don't just trade the opposite just to trade the opposite. You're going to get wrong a lot more than you're going to get right. You have to pick your timings for when you want to, when you need to be contrarian. Because again, to be contrarian means you're going against the trend, what's going on there, which means you necessarily may already be incorrect. All right, let me kind of catch up with y'all here. Let me see here. All right, let me kind of catch up what y'all are saying here. Let me see here. Do it. I should get a house over there in Golden. It looks pretty nice in the winter. That's what Christmas should look like, right? Instead of this heat and whatnot. Let me see. Telluride says always free beer in Golden, Colorado. Yeah, but it's not Shiner. So, Shiner Bock. That's what it should be drinking. Hey there, Indoor. Good to see you checking in. Yeah, LXT, 7 hours till close. Yeah, that's about right. Klaus says to check the crack in Bitcoin USD. Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning there. I think it was a technical glitch. I don't think the price actually dropped that low. It doesn't seem to have affected anybody's orders or anything in that. So it seems like it was just a technical glitch. Hank says, I'm not so sure that a 3-year SFP would really matter that much. Sure it would. Matters all the time. But it depends on what the close is. Again, if you're closing near that, again, as I said, I think it kind of really, it's a potential SFP. They aren't guaranteed. Just because price closes below that other swing high doesn't mean that it has to follow through lower. It's like everything else. It's a pause and a potential reversal. But, it gives you something to understand, a certain pattern that often plays out. And that's what we'd be looking for. If it closes below it, do we get follow through lower? And if we do, then it becomes, much more likely that we're going to get that. And we can we can expect much lower prices. But, if it just closes below it and then, price continues up above it, well, there, it doesn't. But, it's like everything else. And nothing's, just because there's a potential divergence doesn't mean that it's definitely going to play out, right? Or just because there's a reversal candlestick pattern, it doesn't mean price is going to reverse. Just because there's a TD9, doesn't mean price is going to reverse. So yeah, same idea. Hey there, Block Tech. Good to see you checking in. Let's see here. Usman says, Bitcoin is repeating what Bitcoin always does. Break the all-time high, correction 15 to 30%, carry on. Why think any different when it never has done anything different? Look at past data points. Because things, continue the same until they don't anymore. That's why. If you think it's going to always do the same thing, again, as a trader or an investor, that's where you set yourself up to lose a lot of money. Don't assume things are always going to be the same, definitively without any idea of what could go wrong. You can trade it as if it's going to, sure, because it's continued to do the same thing, that's okay. But you have to absolutely be aware that it may not happen. And if it doesn't, see, this is where people get caught. They assume, it was like that, so it's always going to be like that. Never a guarantee, never. And so, especially depending on where you are in a wave count. Again, if this is, if the decline from the all-time high was a wave 4, it may do like it did previously. If it was a larger wave 2, well, there's a reason why things could be different this time. It did the same thing within the previous wave 1. But this is wave 2 still correcting. So, there's lots of reasons why it wouldn't necessarily do the same thing. But as a trader or investor, that's why you have to be aware of what can go wrong, no matter how bullish you want to be. Or if you're bearish, how bearish you want to be. You've always got to understand what could go wrong the other way. What could change it the other way. And that way you're not just setting yourself out there, and potentially buying the dip continually on a downtrend. That it continues to go down much further than you ever expected. Or trying to short the top consistently. As far as just shorting it, not a short term, but trying to hold it for a long way down or trying to buy the dip for a long way up. I mean, you can buy all those bounces and sell all those, short all those, rejections. But most of the people, when they're doing that, they're looking for, a definitive reversal. And until price actually shows you that it's reversing, again, you want to be careful about that. Let me see here. What's going on, Mike? Did you miss anything? All-time high. New all-time high, that's all. Nothing big. Hey there, Crypto Girl. Good to see you. You had Zoomed 4 households for Thanksgiving? Well, it was good that you didn't have to drive. That's always good. And you guys got to see each other. I mean, those of y'all that are older like me, and potentially more experienced, shall we say, you'll know that, 20 years ago, that wouldn't have been possible. If you didn't have Thanksgiving dinner, Thanksgiving together, you didn't have Thanksgiving together. At least we've got technology now that allows us to kind of, see each other and everything, even when we can't be together, physically. Let me see here. Sean, you like that shiner? Me too. Me too. Brian, you lived in Texas for years. Better climate there? Let me see here. Hey there, Guglielmo. Good to see you. But yeah, I mean, again, if we zoom out here, zoom out to the monthly. Like I said, the monthly right now is a strong candle. And I don't, I wouldn't sit here and go, you know what, it's definitely going to drop $3,000. I would never say anything like that. But what I'm trying to get you to pay attention to, guys, is that the more significant, if it does close below this swing high, the further back it pulls back to close, the more likely it is to be a reversal rather than simple continuation forward. But again, even a reversal there, it's not like that it's going to zero or anything like that. Again, could just be an interior pullback there, but more significant anyway. A lot of people are surprised it's not rocketing up now that it's gone through the all-time high. You shouldn't be surprised about that. Again, there's a lot of how's the best way to say this? I think what people do is they think about the, especially if they're just trading crypto, they think about all the crap coins out there and how they how once they go through the all-time high, they're just continuing just to fire up through there. But that's because they're lower liquidity. They're much more gambling. Bitcoin, much greater liquidity. So you're going to have greater sellers sitting there to take that in, And, people waiting to buy are generally going to wait for significance on, some kind of support for a reason to buy, not just a break of the all-time high. Your bigger traders, investors, a break of the all-time high generally isn't good enough because they understand what many retail traders don't understand, which is you can get this pop-up, trap longs, and drop back down. They're waiting for, confirmation pullback, confirmation reversal, pushing on the larger time frame because they're talking about larger money. So they're more interested in those larger time frames, things like that. Whereas your retail's generally going to look at the 5-minute charts and try to time a 5-year entry on a 5-minute chart. You can't really do that, guys. You're going to lose a lot of money trying to do that. Let me see here. I did. Thank you so much, Crypto Girl. I sure did. The members were discussing all weekend with TA and charts. Helped me from FOMOing. Yeah, I noticed that. I looked back in there. A lot of great conversation going on there. A lot of, the good thing about, about our members there in Discord is that, you're getting so many different eyes on the chart, and maybe looking at different time frames and different ways of looking at it. And so it helps to get you aware of what may be setting up to hit you in a way you're not expecting. And so I think that's a great benefit there, because especially if you're a newer trader, you come in and you're like, well, everybody else on on Twitter is so, bullish, and, they get you all hyped up and you're all emotionally bullish then. And unfortunately, when that happens, you fail to see the things that you should be noticing. And many times it's things that you don't even know that you should be noticing just because, you're new. So, all the different members in there and the way they're looking at things, it really helps you kind of figure out what may or may not potentially be happening at that time. I think this is interesting right now. From a channel perspective, we're getting a breakout right now in the monthly. Let me kind of pull this down here. However, usually with channels, if you get a breakout and it closes back below it, it just is a throwover. And a throwover usually sees price retreat strongly. So in this case, if this goes up here and closes back below, we'll say 17,760 or something like that. Hey, 1776. Great year in U.S. history. If it did something like that and pulled back below there and closed back below, I'd be really cautious about a long, and I would expect more likely than not to see price at least coming back down toward the EQ. And if you lose that EQ, then the support. But again, as always, it's a warning, a pause, a potential reversal, not guaranteed. So if it closes back down there and then pushes up through, well, okay, so we wouldn't do that. But I would definitely be careful with something like that, watching where that closes today. Just because of this ascending channel here. Now, if we're closing above this, and continuing on through it, I mean, just from the channel, I would just channel targets alone. I would look at that, probably about $9,600 above the point of breakout. Get you up there around 27,219. To me, that would make sense because that's the height of the channel. It's a pattern target. You've got, touch of support, touch of resistance, touch of support. So alternating touch of support and resistance. The EQ runs real well as a support level right there. So it would make sense for me that it would continue up toward that level. And so if that's the case, I don't know, maybe, let me see here. If we look at this and we say, okay, if you want to be bullish, say that's a 1 and that's a 2. You've got your wave 3 right here at around 21,109. If you're getting up there, you're getting pretty, you're getting just above your 2.0 up to your 2.22, 2.272 area. Almost at 28,000 there. So I don't know, maybe. Let's see here. Maybe you could see something like 1, 2, 3 up there. 4 right down here, 38.2. Get you a bounce off this all-time high in this channel support here. Maybe about 18.4 or so. And then get you a 5 a little bit higher there. 5 would then be, excuse me. Let's see here. 61.8's up here at about 32,418, which just gets you the R5 pivot. So maybe December ends us out that way. Now, if it does, though, if that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 there, well, that would kill people if that was it, right? If that was, if this is whatever, if they're thinking this is a wave 4 and this is a wave 5, that'd be it, right? But, if this is a 1 and this is a 2, well, this should just be one of the next one up. So, you get there around that 38 or that 32.4 kind of area. What did I say here? 32,418. And then you kind of look at your pullback from that then. You go, okay, well, there we go. Yeah, something like that. And so you look at your pullback on something like that, and you've got a 61.8 right here at about 14,375, which gets you, as you can see here, right above kind of darken this here for a minute. God dog it. Let's see. Green zones. Throw us up the monthly. There we go. Yeah, so I mean, it would just kind of bring you back toward a bounce off this support here and then heading up. So I think, I think if this is bullish, I think that's kind of what we see going on. It makes sense. Our target ends up being pretty much where this is up here. And so then, again, so you'd get this finishing up here around that 24, whatever I said that was. I don't know, whatever I said it was there. 27.4 or whatever. And then the pullback to retest that channel resistance to support. And then continuation up there toward that R5 pivot. And then you pull back and you bounce off this this area here, which really you're interested in this resistance here. You're checking that resistance to support and then heading up from there. So, everybody's freaking out, oh, I'm going to miss it. But, I think you'd get a pullback toward that 14,000 area on something like that at least. It could always go back a little bit lower here. You could see 70.5 right there at 11.8 or 78.6. Look at that 78.6 at 9,400, if it was to follow out here, would actually fill in that gap, that CME gap at 9,600. So, that's what I'd kind of be, that's what I'm kind of watching here if this is going to be bullish. Let me see here. Did I see Raoul Paul on Twitter last night? Raoul Paul, sorry about that, says now 98% of his liquid assets are in Bitcoin. Well, if it is, it is. I don't know. Again, that's a very, I mean, he says it is, but you got to take it with a grain of salt, really being truthful or not, I don't know. Probably, I mean, it sounds like he could be, but, again, we don't know. We don't know him personally. But, again, it's a very risky proposition, because if anything happens, I mean, what are you going to do, right? If something more significant happens, if it isn't as bullish as everybody wants to believe at the moment, then, you're kind of putting everything, 98% of your liquid assets, at the top of a move. That would be awful, right? But, if he's correct, then he banks really well. But again, you have to understand that, as a trader investor, again, if you're going to take on that kind of risk, you have to absolutely understand that you're taking on that kind of risk. I mean, you really do. I think just from a risk management perspective, I don't think it's a very smart move personally, but that's just me. But I'm more interested in managing my risk than I am at, doubling or tripling my wealth overnight or anything like that. So yeah. Let me see here. Is OBV showing us anything? OBV, let's see here. OBV, on balance volume, there we go. I mean, it hasn't confirmed the higher high yet. It's still below the June 2019 swing high. So, we're well above that with price, but OBV is not confirming that yet. Now, it doesn't mean it can't confirm it, but it's not confirming it yet. Again, we had the drop down here, and then we have this, this lower high, and then this higher low, and right now a lower high. So we don't actually have a lower low yet. So I wouldn't say on the daily here, or on this monthly here. I'm sorry, this is the monthly. On the monthly that there's any divergence really yet. I would say it just hasn't confirmed that move up yet. If we jump to the daily, let's see here. The daily, of course, is through it. The daily is just confirming right now. So locally on the daily, it's confirming the move up. So that's something that you want to see if you're bullish. Yeah. But as far as, the weekly and the monthly, it'll take more time to play out on those. So for now, here on the weekly, let me see here. Yeah, so the weekly is confirmed, the new all-time high, but the monthly is laggard. It's a monthly, as it has longer and more data to put into it, but it hasn't confirmed it yet on that. Hey there, Pavel checking in from Prague. Good to have you here. Let's see here. Tellurwriter says, well, Raoul Paul does say it's completely irresponsible and he has a business and other investments, I'm sure. Yeah. So, I'm glad he at least noted that, because a lot of times, again, guys, when you're new to this, what we're doing here, when you're new to investing in finance and economics and all these things, and you see somebody big name doing something like that, you think, oh, wow, well, he knows something I don't know and I should do it too. And so usually that's what you get on crypto Twitter and whatnot. If he mentioned that that's totally irresponsible, man, I'm loving him for that. And I'm a fan of his. But again, I think a lot of times we've got to be careful what we do out there when we have other people looking up to us as people who know what we've been doing, because we've been doing it for so long. To definitely make sure that they note, hey, this is completely irresponsible. But even that, still new traders still go in there and say, oh well, whatever, I'm still going to do it, right? So there's always that. But, there's only so much you can do. If you're in that position where people are following you and listening to you and whatever, you can kind of say what you can say, but people are still going to do whatever they're going to do at the end of the day. So, yeah. Let's see here. So, yeah, definitely a lot in that. But, again, guys, the other thing, and I can't say this enough, and many of y'all, haven't dealt with people in those particular positions with that kind of wealth. But, at the end of the day, guys, the one thing that matters is that they preserve their wealth. And so, people in those positions, they're going to, if they do something like this, they're going to cheerlead it to get you to jump in there and put all that retail money in there so it continues to push up. It is what it is. If you put all your money in there like that, you'd be doing it too, right? So Sailor's out there making a lot of noise, ever since, he mentioned that they've done what they did, and other people trying to make a lot of noise about it. But you have to absolutely understand that's just part of what they're going to do. And if they say they're not going to sell no matter what, I think if you believe that, I think you're silly. We're all human beings, guys. And people who have made it that far in life, as far as wealth-wise goes, they're not just going to let it go away. They're not just going to let it disappear. If they start feeling like what they're in is losing a lot of money, is going to go to zero, or not even go to zero, but just lose a lot of money, and they have a better place to put their money, I guess is the best way to explain it, they're going to do that. That's the reality of it, guys. And I know we want to believe them because we all want to see that $100,000 or more so we can all go buy our private islands, right? Yeah, I said private islands. You got to think bigger than Lambos, guys. But, you have to understand they're just human beings, guys. And they've got a lot more stake at it. If they're putting that significant kind of wealth in there, they've got a lot more at stake. Yeah, you might throw $100, go, oh, well, I lost my $100. If it's $100 million or $1 billion, you're going to be a lot more careful with it. And you're going to put it where it's going to get you a return or where it's going to be protected. So just keep that in mind, guys. Don't just blindly believe anybody that says, oh, they're going to buy all this now and they're going to keep it no matter what. That's the biggest load of nonsense. You guys should remember that from being kids. Nothing changes as you get older, especially not with that kind of wealth. If they had the fear that that Bitcoin was really going to drop and stay down for a long bit of time, and they had a better place they could put their money to retain that wealth, they're going to put it where it's going to make the most sense to them. So, just general thoughts on that, guys. Crypto Girl says, reminder, if you are a U.S. resident, be sure to get your coins off of Binance. It's the regular Binance exchange. Binance US is okay. Yeah, there was some emails going out to some people, some U.S. residents there about, hey, you've got, basically 2 weeks to get your coins off Binance or we're going to confiscate your wallet or something. Bitcoin, Binance is dealing with, regulatory stuff right now with the courts and everything. And then, and then they've got this lawsuit thing going on. And so, yeah, they're going to try and make themselves look as good as possible, like they're very compliant and whatnot. And so be careful with that, guys. They warned you. Hank with his with his quote there. I've read that before too. It says, if I owe the bank 10,000, it's my problem. If I owe the bank 10 million, it's their problem. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of where we're at, guys. I think, again, I think the monthly close becomes really interesting. So that's tonight. I think the DXY is something a lot of people are just refusing to acknowledge. And that usually happens. And so I think, you've got to be careful with it. You got to continue, watching it. Is it going to be in any diagonal or not? I don't know. Maybe not. Right now, that's what I've got on there. Right now, the daily is pretty close to getting oversold here on RSI as it is. So, maybe this is something different that comes up here. But, I mean, either way, it's getting pretty close to where it would probably be a bottom. How much room does that give the other assets to move? Gold and silver continue dropping today. No surprise. People are still buying the dips, right? Well, again, that only works until it doesn't anymore. At what point does the dip, become, your gravestone basically on your account there, right? Because they buy the dip and then they hold, and then they buy another dip and then they hold, and they hope. But, if gold goes down to, $900, it's going to take another long bit of time to get back on up there again. I think people are really just oversimplifying the way they look at finance and economics with the way that the governments, consistently manipulate what's going on. They skew risk. And then everybody wants to go, oh, it's capitalism that's terrible. It's not capitalism that's terrible. It's corporatism. It's government involvement. It's government that goes in there and makes artificially low interest rates so that people go out and take loans that they don't need to continue to overproduce, to continue to overconsume, so that they can continue to, government can continue to grow and blow up that balloon. Well, at one point, the credit bubble has to pop at some point. It has to. You can't blow it forever. You can't blow it up forever, guys. And when it does, what does that mean for everything? Well, that means anything that's related to that credit should take a hit, should take a huge hit. There's just no two ways about it. I think there's a lot of possibility for Bitcoin. I'm a big fan. You guys know that overall. Though some of you act like you don't know. But I'm also not immune to paying attention to what's actually going on. When it comes to what's going on with Bitcoin. Anything can happen, guys. You're looking at, if you pay attention here in the U.S., you're looking at them trying to push through this crypto regulation stuff, right? Which basically says that, I guess to put it in short, the exchanges would have to verify that the recipient of where, like if you go to your exchange and say, I need to send my money to this address, you would have to somehow prove that address you're sending it to, is KYC AML. They have to be verified. So you all say, oh, the government can't stop it. Sure it can. They could do stuff like this that makes it absolutely impossible to really do, or makes it too much of a hassle for people to deal with. You get to some point, you go, man, you know what? This is just stupid. I'm tired of the nonsense. I'm not going to deal with all this crud. From the taxes to all this, got to make sure that the recipient is whatever. No. But that's exactly what's going through right now. This is the kind of stuff I warned you about with government. They're not going to attack you personally, guys. They're going to go through your on-ramps and your off-ramps. And you say, oh, well, I'm just going to not go through those. I'm going to keep all my wallet stuff, I'm going to use DEXs and I'm going to keep my wallet private and nobody will know. Man, if you're doing that in the face of actual federal law, it's just stupid. You're just asking to go to prison. Why would you do that? But anyway, most people wouldn't. That's the thing. And so, if that you guys, I continue to tell you the U.S. volume for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is significant. So if the U.S. is to tighten the hose there, you kind of kink the hose. So a lot of that volume dries up. What do you do? What do you think? Bitcoin's just going to continue going on like it's been already? No. Not at all. A lot less liquidity. Things change in a market when the liquidity drops off. So you have to absolutely be aware of the possibilities and what's going on there, guys. There is nothing in Bitcoin right now that guarantees you any kind of success or any kind of wealth. I think there's a lot of possibility for it, and that's why I'm doing it. But I'm also keenly aware that absolutely nothing there is guaranteed. And there's a lot of significant possibilities that could change things. Hey, what's going on, Everly? Good to see you. Is that Teo checking in from Romania? Well, good to have you checking in. Hank says, a new all-time high for Bitcoin maybe in this stream. Oscar says, what are your thoughts and maybe exposure to precious metals? Is this a proper time to hedge against inflation? I think if you're buying metals as a hedge against inflation, I think you're doing it wrong. I'm going to be honest with you. I think metals are just another tradable asset. I know there's a lot of arguments by gold proponents for how gold, protects you against government or whatever, but I don't think so. If you look at it historically, it doesn't ring true. It really doesn't. I think you trade. I think you take gold and silver, whatever you trade them. I don't think you buy them as a hedge against inflation. I think your best, if you're going to buy them as a hedge against anything, I think your best argument is a hedge against government downturn, government destruction, the government just kind of blowing up or the monetary system blowing up. I think that's your best bet. But I don't think you buy gold as a hedge against inflation at all or any other precious metal. Let's see here. News over the weekend, Coinbase is saying they will not partake in sending 1099-Ks to the IRS because it is misleading. The IRS does not know how to interpret. That won't last long. They'll bow down, guys. Listen, Coinbase has a charter, has a license from the government, a money services business license, and they don't want to lose that. They may try to puff up a little bit, but in the end, they're going to do what the government says they have to do. This is how the government does this. It's the same thing with the banks. It's why the banks rat you out if you deposit or pull out more than $10,000 at a time, because the government says they have to tell them. And if they don't tell them, guess what? The government's going to take away their charter, and their business is gone. They're not a bank anymore. Coinbase is no different. They'll bow down at some point. They're just being puffed. They're just puffing up right now. They'd be even willing probably to take it to court and whatever and do a little bit there. But the one thing you learn once you go to law school is a lot of times going to court is just to try and appear that you're doing something. It doesn't often lead to much of anything. So, yeah. It'd be great if they didn't, but again, if they don't, then the government will officially, basically just take them out of business, and they're not willing to lose that business. They're worth a lot. They make a lot of money. For crypto-related transactions, the amount is much lower than $10,000. I don't know what you're talking about, Hank. I'm talking about banks. The same thing I've talked about before, which is if you take out $10,000 or you deposit $10,000 or more, then they are required by law to to let the government know. And they're basically strong-armed into doing it at $5,000. The law says $10,000, but they get a lot of pressure to do it at $5,000. So yeah, that's not crypto really. That's just banks. But it's the idea that they are a business, that's chartered. They have a government charter, and if they don't do that, then they're going to lose their charter. and then they're not in business anymore. So they're going to do it. And so Coinbase is the same way. Coinbase has a license to do what they do from the government. And if they don't do what the government says they need to do, then they'll lose their license. If they lose their license, they don't have a business anymore. So they're going to do what they said. Again, this is the way that the IRS and the government get you. They don't have to get you to report your taxes properly. They just have to get these on-ramps, these off-ramps to let them know what kind of transactions you got going on. And then they'll compare it against what you send in. And if it's different, cause you some problems. Let me see here. Let me see here. Let me catch up with you guys, see if there's anything else here. No, I think that's probably it, guys. So that's where we're at. Again, I think we still got a bit higher minimally. Again, if we're looking at really bullishness here, I think just general extensions that you look for. I think you finish 5 up there at around that 32,400 kind of area, but then you've got a strong pullback after that, back down toward at least 14, basically almost 14.4 there. Now, does it have to? No. You could get a shorter pullback to maybe 38.2. Right there around 21.3, 35. Just get a short 2. So that's always a possibility. But generally, again, this is a general expected wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. So again, becomes a general expected wave 2 pullback, larger wave 2 on that. That's how I would look at that. But like I said, I'm going to watch the daily, the monthly here, and I'm going to look for see where it closes. Excuse me. I think the upside's limited again if we're getting below the pivot here, the 1 and 4 hour pivot, at just below 18,000 there. And of course, if we drop below, basically it's a swing low here. I'll say the S1 pivot, but it's a swing low here. So from this weekend or this past almost a week here, the 16,218. If we're getting below that, I think, it really kind of sets up a potential larger drop. Watch your 15.4, watch your, as you go below that. But, the further that continues to drop there, the more significant it becomes, obviously. So we'll see where it goes, where it goes from here. Again, I think we still got some upside, at least right now. Like I said, I think maybe we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we check a different chart, this is Bitstamp. Let me see here. Let's look at CME here. The CME is printing a TD9 on the weekly right now. So that is going on right there right now. And monthly we'll be printing one tomorrow. So I don't know, is the CME more significant to watch with its, because it's not a 24/7 exchange there. Right now we've got still bearish divergence here. And let me see here on the weekly. So we'll see what happens with that. OBV on the weekly on the exchange here on the CME hasn't confirmed the move up yet either. As a matter of fact, let me see here. We've got a low, and then right now we've got a lower high, but we need to get a lower low to get some real divergence in there. But definitely something to watch there. We're looking at the daily here. Excuse me. Yeah, we've got this I've got this ascending channel that I'm interested in, and price is hanging around right around that. See how it kind of, it dipped below and then opened up back above that that EQ there. So moving up here, get you up around 25,000 or so up there if you hit the top of that channel again. Let me see here and put that back on the See, there's nothing there. We do have confirmation. Looks like on this move up here for the daily with OBV. So there's that there. Well, I appreciate you, Crypto Girl. Thank you so much. Oh, Hank says the U.S. makes their bank report all transactions over however many euros that are coming from or going to an account that is known to be associated with crypto. Yeah. Well, and those rules are a little bit differently what the U.S. does with foreign banks than what it does with U.S. banks. Because, it has a different way that it can deal with U.S. banks than it can with foreign banks. So, yeah. Definitely not surprising, though. I mean, this is something I said was going to happen. The U.S. is going to be able to, track and going to want to track all these crypto transactions outside its borders. Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't, then it's basically, what's it going to do, right? But if it can keep that, then it gives it more bite with everything else it's doing. So, yeah. So anyway, there you go, guys. That's what we're kind of looking at there. We'll see how it continues to play out here. Remember, this is only two charts. This is Bitstamp and CME. So I think, looking at the larger picture, I think we just kind of watch some levels there. Again, I think, your daily, weekly, or your monthly close here is going to be interesting, especially if you get some kind of sudden, real large drop off of it. I think it's where it really becomes. I think if it just closes a little bit under it, I don't think it's really such a big deal. But I think if you're closing, $1,000 or more below, then I think it becomes something definitely that you should be watching a bit more than what you might normally do. So there you go. But anyway, so listen, I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for joining in. I'll be back Wednesday. Again, we'll take some more look there at Bitcoin and the DXY and kind of see where we're at that point. I think the global financial macroeconomic kind of picture, I think things are really looking interesting. Again, gold and silver continue to sell off. The DXY, if it's not bouncing here, is likely to bounce pretty soon, or reverse pretty soon if it's not reversing here. Bitcoin's a highly speculative asset, highly speculative, and it's, booming now, new all-time high. I don't know. Does Bitcoin, here's something for you guys to think about, and you guys are going to hate thinking about this, but I'm going to leave you with it anyway. What if Bitcoin doesn't do anything significant? What if it goes up a bit higher and that's it? What if Bitcoin is just the ultimate in this whole credit thing, this whole, this whole risk-on environment? What if it is by far the most risky thing out there, right? Pretty much, I believe. What if it's the epitome of this risk-on environment? And this is at the top of a credit bubble. You guys have to be aware. Bitcoin does not have to continue higher. It does not have to go to $100,000. It does not have to pass go. You do not potentially get to collect $200, right? Monopoly reference there for these that don't know. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm saying if you don't recognize that, then I think you're, and you're just trading blindly. Other than that, I just hope to God your local risk management is really good. Because what I'm seeing over crypto Twitter is all these promises that Bitcoin's going to take over everything and Bitcoin's going to be the reserve currency and all this stuff. And nothing government can do to stop them. And government's not going to stop because these other big guys are in it. That's all a bunch of nonsense, guys. Absolutely none of that is definitive. None of that. I don't care what somebody tries to sell you. I'm not here to sell you anything other than the truth. So, again, I've got big plans for Bitcoin. If it can continue up and do its thing. But I am in no way assuming that that's it. That's all it can do. That's going to go up and then I'm going to be, making all that money on that larger move. And I don't want you guys to be, put yourselves in that position either. Because if something does happen, something that you don't expect, something that most of these yahoos on Twitter don't expect, you're going to end up hurting. And the likelihood is you're going to end up hurting a lot more than they are. Because again, I'm telling you right now, especially these ones that have a lot of wealth, their number one priority is to preserve their wealth. And if they see that Bitcoin may fail at that, don't think for a second they're going to keep it in there. It doesn't matter what they said a month ago, 5 months ago, 2 years ago. It doesn't matter what they said yesterday. It really doesn't. All right? They may have believed it when they said it. Maybe. But human beings aren't just going to let their money sit there and die on them, right? So like I said, hopefully it does what we want it to do. We make money in the meantime while it is, but always, always, always be prepared that it won't. And the biggest reason before that is because we are in unprecedented levels of risk on. We are the credit bubble just seems to be, at that peak of it right now, which is spurring that on. And all that QE coming in and asset inflation, which results in asset inflation, which is what we're seeing. And then, of course, Bitcoin being as risky as it is. Everybody tries to pretend that it's not. Oh, it's going up in value. It's a store of value. It's not a store of value. It is something that is increasing in value right now. That's all it's done so far. It hasn't proven that it is a store of value yet. Hopefully it will, but it hasn't yet. And so that means that there is a distinct possibility that life could become very difficult for a lot of people. When you see something happen with that again, it's up here at this all-time high. Government comes in with these harsh new regulations because government doesn't understand, or maybe they do understand, and they're being pushed to keep it to keep Bitcoin from growing. Don't think for a second they can't. If they've got control of your on ramps and off ramps, you're not going to get away with trying to hide it. And all it takes is a few people going to prison for a very long time for not listening to those regulations to get a large group of people in Bitcoin to stop being involved in it. And that just affects the whole thing, guys. All right? So there it is. Anyway, Casper says, finally joined Tier 3 after years of waiting. Next step, figuring out Discord. Oh, man. The step thereafter, crypto and markets. Well, as always, man, you can definitely ask questions. Ask in the Discord channels. Everybody's a lot of help. Usually Adam's the easiest person to get a hold of directly because I do so much other stuff here. So, if you've got questions there that aren't answered, in the channels, you can always ask him, and you can ask me. If you send me emails, guy, or text, DMs or whatever, usually it takes a little bit for me to get to them, just because of so much else that we do. So anyway, again, we're looking at potential bounce here, but really that 38.2 is down here at this 18,504. We're looking to get above basically 19,564 and 63 cents here on Bitstamp. If we can get above that, that makes it a lot more likely that we're heading up, that potential wave 4 here on Bitstamp is finished and we're heading up higher. But again, guys, when it comes to wave counts, exchanges are looking a bit different. And so there's a lot of question in there. So watch your pivots, watch your all-time high, watch your monthly close, and we'll see where it goes from there. All right. All right, you guys take care. Thank you so much for checking in. Please join us at howtotradetowin.com. Like I said, guys, just click on whichever one you want to order. Go to the checkout page, and it'll give you the discount, the Cyber Week discount, Black Friday discount on there. It'll automatically put it in there for you. You can see it, and then you don't have to worry about doing it yourself. But you will not get prices anywhere near this low. If you get them again, it will be next Black Friday. And there's always no guarantee that they'll be just as low then. So if you're looking to get in with us, get it really cheap, now's the time to do it, all right? You guys have a great day. Remember, everything else aside, the only thing you control in the market is how much you lose. That's it, guys. All right? So keep working on risk management. It's still the most important thing you guys are going to do there. Y'all take care. Have a great day. Trade safe. December coming up. Christmas coming in. Oh, Lord have mercy. It's going to be a heck of a month. Right? Bitcoin all-time high now. Crazy, crazy. You guys have a great day. I'll see y'all Wednesday. Take care.